Yep.
Okay, this is Keith. We're going to demo our cell phone app, which allows us to connect to our PLC using our cell phone. This is a menu we've developed ourselves. As you can see, it gives the complete state of the home. We have some function keys. Function 1 allows you to, as a user, to adjust your maximum internal desired temperature and your minimum internal desired temperature, and those temperatures are used to control when your fan comes off and on, regulated by temperature. You also can define your internal minimum light level and your external minimum light level. The internal minimum, it allows the device to determine when you should add light by opening a blind or turning on an internal light. And the external min, it indicates to the system what's the minimum amount of external energy required for you to open the blinds versus turning on a light. So we can edit these. I'll just go in quickly to show you. There's an edit function. You could edit, we'll edit the maximum temperature right now. We're going to set it to 76.5. And that is the value of the internal max. You can edit your light intensity the same way. We'll show you that real quick. That way, if you want your room a little darker or a little brighter, depending on what you're going to do in the room, if you're going to read, you need more light. If you're not going to read, you might need less. Function 2 allows you to turn things on. Like, for instance, I can turn on the light just by pressing this button. Notice the light comes on in the house. The light goes off. I can open the blinds. Here the blinds open and the blinds close. This will only work whenever the smart home is in the off mode. As you can see here, the smart home is in the off mode, so that means we have manual control of the devices. If you look here, this shows the mode. We're saying we are at home and the smart house system is off, so we have manual control over all devices. So what we'll do now, we'll turn the system into the on state. So now the system is on, so that means the smart house will control when the lights come on and when the blinds open. So we'll do a simulation now of our system. And to do that, we're going to use our panel. The menu you see on the phone, you also have it. It appears on the PLC. That would be in the home. It allows you access to the same menus that we had on the cell phone. These switches here would simulate maybe light switches or switches to open or close a blind. They're simple. They function as a toggle switch. So for instance, right now the smart house is on. I can turn it off with a switch, and then I can come and turn on maybe the light in the home. Notice I can do that. If I turn the smart house system back on, the light will not come on because the smart house is controlling when the lights come off or on. So if I want manual control, I have to turn the smart house system off. Our first simulation, we're going to walk in a home. We're going to produce motion. Here's our motion detector. We're going to walk into a home, and right now you can see the light came on, and the reason it did was because the internal temperature, the internal light intensity was lower than what we wanted it to be. We'll let this thing reset, and then we'll look at the internal light intensity. So currently we're saying we want a minimum of 75, and with nothing on, the internal light is at 70. It bounces up and down, 71, 68. So that's our internal light right now. So if we have motion, the light will come on. The reason it's doing that is because you can see currently we have no external light. The external light right now is showing 5, and our requirement is 250. So we're doing a simulation when you don't have external light, but you need light in a room. We'll change some conditions here. We can do that. If you notice our blinds here, there's no light inside the blinds. So we're simulating that it's dark outside. What we're going to do with this switch, we're going to turn on a light inside of our blinds, and as you can see now we have light in. So that's simulating a daytime condition. Now when you walk in the home, the smart house system, it'll decide to get you light in the room, but it'll change the method of which it does that. And as you can see, the blinds opened when you had motion in the room. So what it's trying to do is trying to increase the internal light intensity by opening blinds. Now say you're in the room and it starts to get dark, and we'll simulate it getting dark by turning off the light. The system notices that it's dark, and it changes its method of how it gets the light into the room. Let's say you were in the room initially and it was dark and it started to get daylight. We can show if it gets daylight outside, the system will change how you get light in the room. So this demonstrates that the smart house system is definitely capable of controlling the light intensity in a room based upon the environmental conditions, outside and internal light. Our next demonstration we'd like to demonstrate for you is temperature control. If you look on this side, we have a fan, and we also have a temperature sensor. This temperature sensor here is reading the internal temperature of the room. The fan is a device which we're using to cool the room when needed. If you look at the screen here, you can see that the current internal temperature is saying 72.3, and we don't want it to get any higher than 76.5 degrees, and the minimum temperature is 75.5. That tells it when the fan should cut off. So if we drop below 75.5, the fan goes off. If we go above 76.5, the fan comes on. That gives a 1 degree temperature difference for the fan to oscillate off and on. So right now we'll simulate that the house is warming up simply by breathing on the temperature monitor. And right now the internal temperature is at 75.9, 76.1. I'll give it 70, give it a little bit more heat. So here we're at 76.6, and you can see the fan comes on when the temperature requires it. And we'll monitor the internal temperature. Right now it's dropping, it's at 76.4, and it'll soon be below 75.5, and the fan should kick off at that point as long as we have motion in the room. So as you can see, the fan did go off when the temperature dropped. So we still have the light is being delivered into the room by the blind. So the system works simultaneously. They work at the same time, but they do work independent of each other. And that's pretty much a demonstration of how we're controlling light and temperature in a home.